Hello, I'm Eli Weisberg. I'm the Policy Director of the Independence Party of Alberta. Tonight, I'm joined by Deepak Sawhney, Andre Verheide, and Tony, and we're going to be telling you a little bit about the Banff-Kananaskis CA. So, Andre, would you care to introduce yourself to everyone? You're the president of the CA?
Yes, I'm Andre Verheide. I've lived in this riding for over 50 years, and I started the Banff-Kananaskis CA Association fairly recently. And I thought I'd just give you a brief description of how easy it really is to start a CA association. And hopefully I'll be able to encourage other people to follow in doing this. The process, the first thing you have to do is become a member of the party. You can do that by going to the website. It's abindependence.com. You can do a Google search, and the membership is $10. Once you become a member of the party and you decide you want to support the party by creating your own constituency association in the area that you live, you have to proceed to also become an officer. An officer, again, requires a small additional financial commitment of $10 a month. Once you become an officer of the party, you have to go out and find some people to join your constituency association. The minimum is 2. You must have a president and a treasurer, and usually a secretary is considered as essential as well. The maximum is 15. Once you've found the people to become members of your constituency association, you contact the executive board of the Alberta Independence Party and request that they allow you to start a constituency association. Upon approval, the constituency director will contact all the parties involved required to form the constituency association, and they'll set a time and place for the founding meeting. It can either be online or in person. When you have the founding meeting, there'll be nominations, and if required, if you have lots of people interested, there'll be an election for the constituency association positions. And once again, as I said, it should include a president, treasurer, and usually a secretary. What does make it a little bit easier is that in the beginning, you're considered to be in founding status, and the Independence Party will provide the treasurer until you achieve full status. So really, to begin with, you need a president and a treasurer. Once the meeting's over and you've elected your different directors, you need to register your constituency association with Elections Canada. And again, the party will assist you in that. It's not a very big job. At this point, the constituency association has founding status. And once it achieves full status, it can also elect its own treasurer. So basically, at this point, you are now a constituency association, and you're ready to undertake the duties of the constituency association. They include representing the party in the constituency, growing the party membership in the constituency, raising funds in the constituency, because politics definitely costs money, recruiting potential MLA candidates, and finally, once you've recruited these candidates, you have to preside over the nomination of the MLA candidate in the constituency. Now, I've gone over this very quickly, and it may sound a little bit daunting, but the process is actually not that hard. And the Alberta Independence Party will give lots of guidance and assistance on each step. And that's basically how you go about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre. Now, just an important correction. It's Elections
Okay,
Alberta that you probably want to talk to and not Elections Canada.
good.
So,
Yeah, that was a slight slip.
anyway, all of you, I'd like to know why you wanted to get involved with the party in the first place. There's so many other options. Let's start with you, Tony.
Well, I've been in Canada since 1965, and I watched Alberta and Saskatchewan being exploited like 19th century colonies. And then it was obvious to me very quickly that that was the case, and it hasn't changed. And since then, Alberta and Saskatchewan have made lots of attempts to try to shake off the shackles, as it were, or become equal partners in confederation and receive the same kind of consideration as some of the other provinces, but it hasn't happened. So, the situation's just got worse and worse. And you don't need me to go through a catalogue of all the things we're complaining about today. What can we do about the situation? Well, one of the things we can do is just keep trying, which hasn't worked for decades. The other thing that's recommended by the provincial government at the moment is to have some referendums to show people in the rest of Canada just how angry we are. And I think that's futile because they know we're angry, they know we're dissatisfied, and they couldn't care less. So the only other alternative is independence. And I came to the conclusion eventually that that was what we should be doing. So when I decided that, I thought I should try and do something about it instead of just sitting at home grumbling. So I looked to see what parties there were that I could join. And the reason I picked the Independence Party was because it seemed to me there was a chance with the Independence Party that it wouldn't just be a right-wing fringe party, as people call them. Some of the other parties that are associated with independence, either fully or partly, seem to consist entirely of very right-wing people. I'm not against right-wing people, but if we're going to achieve independence, we have to have all kinds of people vote. We have to get 50% of the vote, and 50% of Albertans are not extreme right or extreme left, for that matter. We have to be able to appeal to a wider range of people. And I thought the Alberta Independence Party could do that. And I'm further convinced that we can do that because if you go to our website, you can see our party program. And it is not an extremist document in any sense of the word. And I think it achieves the objective I just mentioned and could be something that more than 50% of Albertans could sign on to. So that's why I'm a member of the Independence Party. That's what I want to see us achieve. And I'm willing to work hard to bring it about, which is why I joined up and joined the constituency association and contribute to the blog site that we set up. Anyway, that's enough from me.
Thank you, Tony. I'm sure we all really appreciate a lot of the wisdom. Politics in Alberta has gotten really, really ugly and really, really divided. And we're not here to do that. We're here to bring really great ideas before Albertans and let Albertans decide. We're not here to play identity politics. We're not here to play, Albertans off one another. We're here to separate and we're here to build a better identity for everyone here in Alberta that all Albertans can be a part of. And we want everyone to be a part of it. We don't want anyone to be left behind. No one should be worried about, losing their benefits under us. They also shouldn't be worried about, us spiraling into debt. We take a very pragmatic approach, which I think all Albertans will really appreciate and really reflects quite strongly on Alberta's history. So Deepak, tell us why you got involved.
Sure, I'd love to explain. So First off, my parents were immigrants to this country here in the early 1970s, and they've been entrepreneurs their whole life. So I kind of have that entrepreneurial sort of spirit in me. And so I've always, as long as I can remember, I've always been, about, personal freedoms, small government, letting people make their own decisions, taking charge of their own life, et cetera. If I had to put a label on it, and I hate putting labels on things, but, that's what people use, I would say, I'm conservative or even libertarian, if you will. But when the current prime minister was first elected, I mean, there's always been a lot of problems, as Tony alluded to earlier, with how the West has been treated, how Alberta's been treated. We kind of always knew that, but there's always that hope, one day things would change. But when this current prime minister was elected, it did not take very long for, myself and other Albertans to be even more disenfranchised. But what was the real impetus for me was, in the last year when CV-19 and some of the policies and some of the things that were been going on with government, the current government, and then how the Conservative Party was also playing into that. It really got me wondering, and I actually took it upon myself to really, I've always voted at every level since I've been 18. But I really took the opportunity to really dig into the history of politics in Canada, politics in Alberta, where some of these ideas and notions are coming from. And I really, it was eye-opening to me. And it doesn't really matter what party they are. I quickly came to realize they're all the same bunch. I quickly realized, like, the only way for a strong Alberta, those ideals that I grew up with, to actually have those, I mean, they're disappearing fast. Definitely in the last year. So, for my children, I got young children. I want them to grow up with that same type of idea of what the nation should be that I grew up with, and that's not happening. So it got me looking into alternatives, and I looked around at some of the parties that were looking at or saying they wanted to achieve independence, and I looked into all of them. Even joined a few to learn more about them, but Independence Party is the only, at this time, true independence party. And besides that, so aligning with my goals, very open, wanted to hear my ideas, asked for my feedback, very pleasantly surprised with that. Hence, I, got involved with this CA and some other facets with policy and what have you. So welcomed me with open arms. And as I got to know the people in the party, we're all like-minded for the most part. There's always going to be disagreements, but everyone wants to achieve the same goal, as strong and united and independent Alberta. That's what led me to join the party.
Thank you so much, Deepak. So you've heard 3 very powerful testimonies. Next, we'll move on to Andre Verheide. Why did you join the party?
Thanks. I became involved, I think, out of sheer frustration. I've always been interested in politics, but not necessarily involved. And I have many reasons, but I'll talk about a few. I really believe in democracy, but I also believe that currently it's broken. It's not working very well. And I fear very much for our society if we keep going down our current path. I think our governments are essentially out of control, and they're no longer representing the people that elect them. Our representatives are career politicians, and they primarily care about being reelected. That is what's really important to them. So they make their decisions in the short term, and this has become much, much worse in the time of social media, being politically correct and swaying with the theme of the day primarily. So they end up serving themselves, then their own party, and the old boy-girl networks, which we've really seen a lot of. And I think this applies to all parties, whether they're left, right, provincial, or federal. My beliefs range all the way from the left and all the way to the right. I don't take one side or the other. Our governments seem to refuse to check their spending, and it seems to be impossible for them to cut back. The bureaucracy expands endlessly. We have a massive debt problem, and I really fear for our children. How are they going to pay that off? It's just crazy. There's just no excuse right now for our out-of-control civil service, massive bureaucracy that's taxing and controlling us absolutely to death. For example, we have high costs of housing because of excessive bureaucracy, and that results in levels of homelessness, which was just unthinkable when I was young. Inefficient healthcare, expensive education that has become more of a propaganda machine than teaching the necessary reading, writing, and arithmetic, and abysmal and steadily deteriorating Aboriginal relations and conditions. I'm very aware of that last one because I spent much of my life teaching with Métis and Aboriginals. I also lived through the NEP in the early 80s, and I see it happening again. Alberta's being destroyed by Eastern values. Many Albertans came from out of the province and chose to stay in a can-do Alberta because of our belief in self-reliant, small government and opportunities for those that choose to work hard. That's what built Alberta, and we're losing it. It's time to go on our own and regain control over our destiny. I believe that Alberta should have left Confederation many, many years ago. Imagine where we'd be, and imagine where we could be if we leave Canada and go on our own. Always paid attention to politics and haven't been involved directly, but I have more time now. I'm semi-retired, and I decided to intervene and get involved. And I hope anybody out there that's watching this, that they choose to join us as well. We need both your financial support and also your time to help us promote our goals. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Andre. I think that's a really important thing to touch on as well. You know, we're going to need all Albertans in order to do this. Independence starts with you, and that's very, very important. We want every Albertan to be heard in the process of independence, and we want everyone to feel like they're a part of it. Independence is not a partisan idea. It's an opportunity for all of us. And I think, you know, a lot of folks on the left, even though they haven't really warmed to a lot of the ideas of independence, will quite like the prospect of being able to completely fund healthcare. You know, we'll be able to expand social programs if Albertans want that, and if it's efficient, and if it'll be able to get the good results. But we want to measure things based on their results. And that hasn't been happening right now. Albertans, right and left, want accountability for where their tax dollars are going. They want accountability for what their legislators are doing. For people to be governed, there has to be the consent of the masses, and we're not getting that anymore. We're getting this sort of really frail, flaky elitism, very reminiscent of the monarchies in Europe during the early 20th century. As was said originally by Tony, we are indeed a colony, and we have to change that. We need to discover our independence. The Independence Party is the only independence party in Alberta. We're the only party in Alberta that's there to fight for you. Even through the pandemic, we've been fighting for the individual freedoms of Albertans that all the other parties were too quick to toss away. We believe in, you know, safety. We believe in accountability to the public. And we don't believe you have to sacrifice one for the other. You don't have to sacrifice freedom for safety. So here you have it. Albertans working hard to develop constituency associations and really doing their part. And I have just one question for you. Why aren't you doing your part yet? Come and join us. I think you'll like it. Thank you.